Hello there. You're listening to 10 Questions, where we discuss the wetplate collodion process and the photographers that create these unique images known as ambrotypes and tintypes. I'm your host, Chad Shryock, wetplate photographer for Pork Pie Photography based in Fort Collins, Colorado. In each episode, I've asked a modern-day practitioner to sit down with me and talk about how they got involved with this vintage process, share some information on their gear and studio, and provide some valuable insights into their creative process. So whether you're just beginning to dabble your toes in the collodion ethers, or you're a seasoned silverbath expert, hang on and see what develops with 10 Questions. Staying true to our podcast goals of speaking with wetplaters from around the globe, we're heading to the mountains and forests of a small country in Central Europe. This long-haired wild man of a photographer has created intriguing portraits of himself, his family, and others, as well as beautiful images of nature while traveling around in his 1972 Landrover expedition. Based in Slovenia, I'd like to welcome Borut Peterlin to 10 Questions. Borut, thanks for joining the program.
Oh, it's an honor, it's a pleasure, and it's a good idea to spend the evening. So I'm glad to be your guest.
Yeah, thanks for being my inaugural international guest, for sure.
Good.
Yeah, it's great to finally talk to you and hopefully learn more about your experience and maybe talk about the current collodion movement that's taking place in Europe.
Okay.
So you attended the Film and TV School of the Academy of Performing Arts in Prague, or FAMU as it's known, right?
That's correct. I did my BA in Prague, in Czech Republic. Then I went after my bachelor degree, I went to work for Benetton in Italy, or Fabrica, more specifically. And then I did also postgraduate studies in London College of Printing, or as it's renamed now to London College of Communication. So, and then, that's like my formal education. But then I also took workshops with Mark Osterman in Rochester, George Eastman House.
Okay.
And and I also took workshops with Calvin Greer, who is a master, probably the best carbon printer in the world. So yeah, I give a lot of attention to the education.
Great. Yeah, I saw that the film school that you went to is the 5th oldest film school in the world, so it's been around for quite some time. What was your primary focus in your studies there?
Well, let's say like this. First of all, before I got to the academy, I finished my school for carpentry. So, I love photography all my life. I mean, not all my life, from age 11. But I didn't have equipment. As you know, the photography can get expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have a good, I had like an old Russian camera that was not even working. The light meter wasn't working. So I didn't have any nothing to show, basically. But I had a lot of passion. I just keep on doing. So what I'm trying to say is that it was like a giant leap for me to get from the from the carpentry school to the academy for photography and film. And I've done that in a quite good, let's say, with the style. How does this proverb says? Basically, if you don't know what you're doing, you're either crazy or original, or both. I didn't have any contact with anybody from photography. I had one person who taught me how to technically develop black and white print and expose properly the film. But that was it, from what photography should be, what photography could be. Nobody taught me that. I'm not even in the capital of Slovenia. Slovenia is a small country of 2 million residents, and capital has around 400,000 residents,
Okay.
and I'm not even there. I'm in a say an hour drive away, which means that it's not a cultural hub. So anyway, the point is, I read all the books that I could get, also in German. Also, although the German was or English was not my language at the time. I mean, I couldn't really read, but I was if I have one superpower, I have a persistence. Oh my goodness, I am really persistent. I'm so persistent. It's like when I'm looking back, it's funny. It's kind of tragically funny, but I am.
That's a great attribute to have for this process, for sure.
Well, that's absolutely true. You're so right about that. Everybody who have done wetplate may have a laugh, is laughing now probably because they know exactly what you're talking about, and what. So what I'm trying to say, let's say, like if you're talking photography, like basically we had to illustrate one for entry exam. We had to illustrate one text, and I wrote. You could take whatever poem, whatever text from the book, whatever. But I wrote my own text and my own story, and it was like Little Red Riding Hood Part 2, which means that Little Red Riding Hood the story was happening in the city, not in the forest. The Little Red Riding Hood was a bad guy, and the wolf or the dog was a victim, and everything. I flipped everything around, and I used some really crazy technique of retouching. We are talking about 1993 year, so or even 1993. So basically everything was done by
pre-digital for sure, yeah.
Absolutely. So everything was done by hand, and and on Cibachrome. Older photographers knows what that is. So basically, that you have a slide transparency, and then you positive you enlarge through a larger to a positive, from positive to positive, which basically the process doesn't. I mean, probably in the United States you can still find one or two labs that can do that, but in Europe maybe you can get one or two, but basically it's extinct. The process is extinct because it's super poisonous, and nobody's doing the transparency anymore, or not many. So what I'm trying to say is, like, this was very technically it was original idea. It was very technically challenging, and when I got to the academy and when I was accepted, they asked me how I've done it. I have to show them how I've done it. So it was good. Was good.
So I'm assuming that you were primarily based in film photography at that time, and a lot of printing out type processes. Did you even hear about wetplate during your time there?
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. I still remember the day when I saw wetplate, when I decided this is something that I'm going to do. It was in London. There was I had a solo exhibition there at the host gallery. So at that time, also Sally Mann was exhibiting in Photographers Gallery, in London's Photographers Gallery.
Okay.
And I clearly remember 1994 when Sally Mann was not yet Sally Mann. She exhibited in a small festival in Slovakia, in Bratislava, and we as students, we went to see it, and I still remember when we were talking about her photography and so on in the class. So anyway, I wanted to see, after so many years, I wanted to see the same prints again, and I want to see if if I will still be impressed. And yes, I was still impressed by her printing. I mean, by images everybody knows, but print is a print. So it's a masterpiece, each of them. But I got there and I saw these crazy pictures, and I wasn't really sure. And then, of course, I read what is everything that is about the exhibition, and of course, I learned what wetplate is. It was the first time that I saw that somebody was using this handmade, handcrafted photography process in contemporary art, and I was like, on that spot, I decided this is something that I'm going to do. And since I'm a professional photographer, I cannot do. I don't want to do it just for during the. It's not a weekend project. Is another life's goal.
Right. You were going to jump right into it then. So,
that's right.
So when was it that you actually started learning about the process?
Oh, it took me like another 2 years to actually get all the chemistry and people that could talk to me. I've learned in Serbia, actually. There was one guy, Misha Kiskenovic, who had a workshop there, and I went to Serbia, which is, I don't know, 5-6 hours drive to get to the place, and I've learned there the basics. And then, of course, on Facebook, the wetplate community is very well connected. And me and Misha, I was interested from the start into wetplate negatives. Wetplate positives are great, are really great. I totally understand and totally get it why it's so popular. But for me personally, a negative is something that I want to do. I can talk about that later. But the point is that what I'm trying to say is that because I was interested in negative and not so much into positive, Mark Osterman just came, left a comment, and then we started to chat. And actually, when he was coming, when he had he was guest in Munich, Germany, so that's like 5 hours drive away north. Of course, I went to see him. To meet the man, and and this was really awesome because from that moment, you know how it is. If you meet a master and the guy who really understands and feels the process gives you the advices, you get the insights that you cannot get from the books or so anyway, so this was this was really special and from there on, here I am.
Yeah. Borut, tell me this. Had you ever seen the process performed before you went to Serbia, or was your time with Misha, that was really like your first up close, like, wow, this is how you make these images?
Yes, exactly. In person, that's the first time I've seen it. But otherwise, on the internet, I saw whatever I could saw. I could, so I saw. I got a lot of information, but you know how it is. When you first see it, you first see it. Sure. I am that kind of person. So that was 2011.
Okay. What was your first plate that you actually created? What was the image of?
I'm not sure if it was like a still life. I know I'm not sure which was the first, but I know that I can recall first four that I made there. I'm not sure which one was the first, but I think it was like kind of like a still life or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I noticed that you shoot a variety of different subjects, whether it's portraiture or landscapes and even a lot of self-portraits that you've done over the years. Mm-hmm. Do you have a particular subject that you prefer or like to photograph?
Yeah. Well, let's say like this. If we are talking about subject and from this point of view, there is a rule. If you want to be successful photographer, whatever, you have to have your own style. But the problem is, that I get really, I know a lot about photography, and then I don't want to, and I get bored with the routine. I'm kind of, oh my goodness. So let's say when I'm thinking about the project, I'm thinking about what I want to share, what kind of aesthetic I want to share, and then I choose everything accordingly, which process, which camera, which lens, and so on and so on and so forth. So for different projects, I tried different cameras, different lenses, and I saw that some of them are working better than the other. And for different process, it's just the opposite, So I'm really, really, I wouldn't say that I have a lot. What does it mean to have a lot of equipment? I'm not a collector. So every lens that I have, I either use it or I am using it, or either I was using it or I will use it or I'm using it. So it's not that I would collect. Although, if I must say, I have a big storage room which is full already. So this is kind of I don't. I have to give some equipment away. I think.
Right, right. Tell me a little bit about the antiquarian avant-garde movement that you associate yourself with. I mean, I would think with someone that
Yeah.
has all of the roots that you have with film photography and digital photography. I mean, why is wetplate worth all the effort that goes into it in some of these older processes?
Okay, that's there are two kinds of answers. Let's start with the personal one. First of all, we are it's experience. Experience. I was very before I started Collodion. I was very successful commercial photographer. I built myself a house with my commercial photography. But my goodness, I hate I if I was thinking what would be my weekend, like a day off activity, photography would be the last. Maybe
Okay.
like this was the state of my mind. I got so sick of it, so sick of it. Like this digital photography and so on. By the way, I'm making a joke. I'm always saying, I mean, very often I have black fingers because of the silver nitrate. You get contaminated and you get the stain, a black stain on your finger. And I'm saying there was like a guy. I said, "What's this stain?" Well, this is for silver nitrate. Oh, that's poisonous or something. I said, "No, it's not poisonous. It's more. I'd rather have a black stain on my hand than red eyes like you have from the computer."
Nice.
you know.
Yep.
Yeah, like because I was there, I had like my eyes were all swollen and so on because I just had to, like, I was holding a camera for 1 hour and then I don't know, the rest of the weekend. I mean, the rest of the day was just emails, sending, editing, and so on and so on.
Right,
so
right.
so yeah. So this is my personal, and I would say that many people that I know share this approach. So basically, it's kind of like a magic, like something is reappearing. You are making something with your hands, it's something alive, and if you do it like this, it will go this way. If you're doing like that, it's going to that way. And then again, you can, anyway, it's very unique. It's a very
Sure.
exciting process.
Well, and I would think
So
that
that's one
your
thing.
background as a carpenter and being very hands-on and
Yeah.
proud of workmanship that you can actually do with your own hands kind of thing, that there's some value
Yeah.
to that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I must say that I wouldn't say that let's say I live around people who are like, I don't know, 10 times better how you call it, handyman. Like my father built 2 houses and so on, and a pool, and I don't know, he was making everything from beer to marmalade to carpets to I don't know, like cheese, beer, whatever.
Yeah.
He was really really a big influence. So I don't find myself to be particularly handy, but I can see that I see a lot of people are seeing me as very handy, which I wouldn't say that I'm very good with my with other crafts, but I am again persistent, and I dare to go to give it a shot, and sometimes I make more mistakes than, I mean, sometimes a job that a car mechanic would do in 1 hour, it takes me like 2 days, and it's totally. Or even the last time that I was, I even made some mistakes, so it took me like 1 week to repair it. I mean, not me, but another guy helped me
Yeah.
with the repairment. That's how it is,
I think you and I have
but
got a
it
lot
is,
in common. I mean, if I can save $1 and try and learn how to do something myself, I'm going to try and do that. So
yeah, yeah. I think it makes your life. It makes you feel alive. It makes you like. I love learning things. Like I learn because when you're learning, you're on unknown territory. You're uncharted, uncomfortable. You have to adapt. You have to be present. You cannot do
right.
it with a routine. You cannot download preset and just copy 100 pictures and just paste, and that's your look and export and ciao, So you cannot do that. You have to be really on the ball. So this is the first thing, like for wet plates. So the first case is this feeling of magic, a feeling of creation, personal excitement. All those also is also frustration. Yeah. Part of that is also it comes as a package. But the second thing is aesthetic. In today's world where everything is generic, and everything is made in China or Taiwan or somewhere, and we have we all have the same digital cameras, the same software, the same lenses, and so on and so forth. And now, now comes somebody that does something with their hands, and they're using the lenses from, I don't know, they're like more than 100 years old. And, everything that you do, it's unique. It's very unique, Of course, it's not a magic wand that would turn every picture into gold. But I would say that it does play this effect of something unique, something handcrafted, something, But basically, if you're a wet plater, you cannot really do it. I mean, you can try that somebody will help you and you do it as a weekend project. But otherwise, if you want to do something seriously with, you have to commit yourself, I don't know, at least a year. So you will be there where you want to be, to be confident in the process. So what I'm trying to say is this, it has its own aesthetic, but I'm not just talking about aesthetic from the developer, from the medium, from all these errors and so. But I'm more talking about the lenses, because for my last project, which was a New Earth, I was using a camera which is 16 by 20 inch format, a huge camera, and I was using 500 millimeter lens, 500. Nice. And this 500 millimeter lens is would be around 38 millimeters on a 35 on the, let's say, Leica format, on the 35, like full frame. Okay, digital, it's called it full frame. Right. So basically, 500 millimeter was a wide angle lens. De facto wide angle lens, which gave another. You cannot fake that. There is no preset for physics. The way the lenses are bending the light. That's how it is. 500 millimeter lens, and it has a wide angle. You cannot fake that with any software.
You mentioned some of your lenses. What does some of your gear look like that you use most regularly?
Yeah, so I'm just looking around. So I'm seeing, I'm looking at my pictures that are around. So I'm seeing one of them is a lens from, it's a Petzval lens from 1890s, something French or Chardon, something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember. But it's a good lens. It has a really beautiful bouquet and all the swirl and everything. So this is one, and then my favorite lens is Voigtlander Heliar, a 300 millimeter. I use this one for almost all the portraits, or many portraits. So and I mentioned the one 500 millimeter. It's Dallmayr. It's a big lens. It's 500 millimeter big lens, Dallmayr. Fully open aperture is 6.8. So it's really like the lens has at least, I don't know, 3 kilos, which is, I don't know, 6 pounds or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yep. Yeah. So it's really heavy. So those three, if I could choose, I would choose those three. And then I also use a lot on the film, not as much as I used to, but I love Mamiya twin lens and twin lens camera. And now I obtained also Hasselblad 500, so I will see how this will go. So that, and so I use this twin lens, it's a medium format camera as for my family pictures, because I know I love photography so much that if I have my phone or something like that, and I take a picture and I say, "Oh, this is a really good picture," I wish I would have like a proper picture. And then,
You went the big gear for
and
for some of those moments.
and 6x6 is kind of it's just like in the, it's heavy and but it's serious. It's a great camera, but you can still catch the moments. So anyway,
What about your cameras that you use? Do you have multiples?
So I have 16 by 20, 60 by 20 Ghibellini. Then I have 10 by 12 inch Vagavasari. It's Indian. And I have also a half plate, which is something smaller than 5 by 7.
Okay.
This is also Vagavasari. And then I have Plaubel. Plaubel is like monorail camera, 5 by 7. And I have Shenhao 4 by 5 inch from large format cameras. And then I have several of Kodak folding brownies. Kodak folding brownie, that's like a compact camera from 1906 or 19 something like that. And it's just, I love it. It's really the lens. I mean, it's difficult to work with because you cannot really, you cannot really sharp focus and so on. You just have to, you have a measurement feet or meters, and you set focus on that, and it's very fragile and so on and so on. But the quality for this camera, it's amazing. It's really amazing. I made some of my favorite images on that one. It's so basically it's a camera that costs like 50 euros, or let's say $50. And it's just, for one who knows what to do with it, it's worth its weight in gold. It has a amazing lens. You can have really vintage lens, proper vintage lens, and you don't have to go to do crazy wet plate. You can do paper negatives. You can just use silver gelatin papers, put it inside, and I got really good results out of that. So this is, I would not skip that camera. Let's say if I would have to give away some cameras, that would definitely be not in the first half.
Right.
Would be I would try to the one that I cherish more than the others.
That's great. Do you typically shoot with natural light, or do you have strobes and other lighting that you use for portraits?
I love portraits with strobes, and just because it yields amazing sharpness, and it just pop, it's pop. And that's because if I'm talking about portraits, I'm talking about, but these are portraits more like, I would say, not my personal work. So it's more like for clients, people want to have a portrait on the glass, and I take pictures of them. So that, and for workshops, I love strobes. I really love it because I really have a lot of very, very strong strobes. I like, 9,000 watt seconds, both
wow.
on two heads. I mean, not both of them together, 6,000 and 3,000. So it's really a lot. So I can, I can even close down the aperture to f8 and just make a pop. Everything is sharp.
Right.
So this is what's the word in English? A golden goose, or basically the chicken that gives the golden eggs.
Yeah.
So if you want to patch your budget with wet plate, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Try use strobes, and that will sell well. That will sell well.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about this mobile studio that you've got, this Landrover. I mean, that's a pretty unique way of getting around to some of these remote locations. How do you set that beast up whenever you go out on the road?
I love this car. It's kind of like a family member, It's loud, it's slow, it's expensive to drive, it's expensive to maintain. But when you get into the forest, it's like the best, because it's like a beast. It just goes, and because it's all old, like it's 51 years old now. So it also has all the scratches are on. So I don't really care if I drive through the branches and it goes like that. If you would have like a normal, like a civilian car, quote unquote, you wouldn't go where I go.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Borut, I'm 50 years old too, so I've got a lot of those same scratches.
I'm getting there in 2 years. So,
so do you? I take it you have a portable darkroom that you take out with you when you do a lot of these type of
yeah,
location shots. Is it built into
yeah.
your Landrover, or is it a separate box that you pull out and set up? What's that look like?
I have two versions. One, let's say if I have 60 by 20 inch, I just have one option, which is a darkroom tent. That's all. It's too big. It's too big to handle those big plates. But if I have like up to 10 by 12 inch, I have like a dark box that is installed in the landy, and I also have a container with water on the roof. So I have like running water, and then I have also the sink. I designed it myself, and I did a lot of improvements while I was building it. So my dark box is like a Frankenstein, like patched up here, patched up there. Each screw is different, but it works, and I'm really satisfied with it. But I'm now, because it works. I'm so lazy not to do it now when I know everything, how it's all the measurements and all the little details. I don't want to do I should do another copy, so basically another version to be like more, like to be more tight, but I never did. So
Nice. Have you ever got that thing stuck in the mud before?
oh, many times. Yeah, but I would say like this, that I was really stuck was just in the beginning, that I had to call my neighbor. I went to called my neighbor. He came with his tractor that he's pulling the trees out of, from the, lumberjack tractor, and he pulled me out from this. So that was the time that I really didn't. Yeah, I was like in the beginning, in the first month owning a Land Rover. So I thought, I didn't really understood what are the dangers and what are not dangerous, So basically, so you can get yourself really easily stuck.
It's good to have a neighbor with a tractor to pull you out of those tight
that's
spots.
Right. That's right. Oh, I want to say this anecdote. So basically, I got stuck and I said, okay, I will not get to the spot that I wanted to go. I called my neighbor. He said, I will come in a half an hour or whatever, 45 minutes. I said, okay, what should I do? I have all the gear here, so I opened everything, the tent and everything. That time I had tent. I think I had a tent, yeah. Never mind. I did, and I set up my wet plate stuff, and I photographed it, and I did one really nice negative. And when the neighbor with tractor came and pulled out my car, I gave him a picture of a tree that I took a photo there, as a thank you, So
Nice.
So he was happy that it took him like half an hour to get me out, and he got like a nice picture.
Very nice. Hey, Borat, I think that you either have a book in the works or maybe it's close to being released. Tell me what that process was like to go through, and I mean, how do you select the pictures that you're trying to publish in these books whenever they all have some special meaning to you?
First of all, I start with the concept. I have an idea what I want to say, or even if I don't have the words. Even when I say I have a concept or I have an idea what I want to say, that maybe it's not. I don't mean it in a literal with words. Maybe I just want to convey a feeling of, let's say, a positive feeling or a negative feeling, whatever. Let's say in my first real book was a father tale, was a story about being a parent, story about delights and fears being a father or a parent. So basically, it was like half of the images were very positive and half of the images were kind of like you can feel the fear and the black coming in. And by my surprise, I realized that I can, in this story of my kids, basically, and myself, I can include pictures of pictures of landscapes, trees, rocks, whatever. Why? Because I was just looking what kind of feeling this picture gives me. Like what is it talking? If I put this picture together with this picture, does it work? And so on and so on. So first of all, you have to have very clear concept. What are you trying to convey? What kind of message you want to convey? And usually it starts with this feeling. What you feel, and when you look at some pictures and so on. So this is very important. This is very important. And then it's easy. Then easy. Then you put two pictures together and you leave it. You cannot. You have to leave it for a while and then see it again next day and the next day and the next day, right. And then it adds up. But I love this process. Oh my goodness, this is probably my favorite part of being a photographer. Is like making books. I was photo editor for a magazine for a long time, like 7 years, 8 years, something like that. And and I've learned something about it. And I always had a passion of buying books, if not collecting photo books. So that's how it is. I love it.
So what is the subject of this most recent publication that you've got that's coming out?
Yeah. Well, the one that I'm working on is a manual, so this doesn't count on this. But the one that I made, already published, is a New Earth. It's a project about a man and nature, and basically it's very, I would say, spiritual in the sense of it talks about existence, raising awareness, who we are, what we are, and basically emotions, and It's very interesting. This is the first project. This project started in 2020, in the beginning of COVID, and since we were all closed, we were watching YouTube very often. And I checked a lot of photography channels, and I was not impressed because how it is. They're like those 5 famous photographers all the time, reappearing. So I would say, and then I started to watch painters, like something about painting and painters, and I really got impressed, and I got into this mentality, and it really is in the mentality of building a picture, like thinking about elements and putting it together and so on. It was very, very different than all my other work. It was much more pre-thought what I'm trying to say and why this picture, not that picture. So a lot of pictures, a lot of my work is directly related to some painting. Either is that a Venus from Botticelli or Andrew Wyeth, Christina's World, But let's say if we are talking about Christina's World and Andrew Wyeth, let's say it's a very famous painting of this lady lying on the floor because she was paralyzed and she was refusing to have any aid, like a wheelchair or something. So she was crawling through the landscapes to get to the house and so on. So Andrew Wyeth saw that and he painted it. So I didn't want to remake the image, I didn't want to remake the image. I just wanted to take the feeling that I felt, and I just wanted to make. I used the body language, like the pose of the body on the floor, but all the rest is different, like in my photo. But I named it. I entitled it "In Christina's World." Not Christina's World, but in Christina's World. So it was like definitely a homage to that painting. And and Venus was also. So basically, that's my last project is about very much about consciousness, and first time in my life that I was writing and publishing poems. Those poems just came by themselves out and in the middle of the forest. So and it's perfect. They're really a great fit to photography. Really great fit to photography.
Nice. You had mentioned your series of Father's Tale, and you've got quite a few different portfolios on your site, but Myself, as a father of two sons, I'm kind of drawn to some of those family photos that you've got in that series.
Yeah.
What was the real motivation behind that? You'd mentioned Sally Mann early on, and I know that she had done a lot of work with photographing her family. What motivated you for Father's Tale?
Well, in 2016, when this project really became like I really decided that this is my work, my book. In 2016, I went through divorce from the relationship, from a marriage from the relationship that lasted 21 years. So photography at that time was a bridge between me and my kids. So what should we do? Let's go and take a picture, And then we spent a day. They were posing, and we went for pizza or whatever. We brought a picnic stuff, and they were in the nature and so on. So we had kind of like a good excuse to hang around together. And I had like my camera always. So I had this 6x6 twin lens camera that I mentioned before. And then I have also this wetplate stuff. Wetplate material. But of course, for wetplate, but it was fun, Like we went with the Landrover to some place in a forest, or some location, and then and usually we went not only three, but we also got my friends or nieces and so on. So I was like a lot of kids, and they enjoyed playing themselves. They enjoyed playing. And when I was ready, I just said, okay, you two get here, you do like this, and they were posing, and I took a picture, and they went off, to play again. So that was really a good way of hanging around. And as I said, that photography was really important time, and really bring everything into place. My fatherhood to my kids, and that's what it was.
Do your kids ever complain about getting their photo taken? The old Dad's getting his camera out again bit.
Yeah, now they are teenagers and they don't want to be photographed. So now it's over, Yeah. But I have a son which is 3.5 years old, and he loves this cameras, either to take pictures or to be photographed, So we will see what will happen.
Is there anyone, like, if you could take an image of anybody, if you could set them down in some studio environment to photograph them, who would that be for you?
Like a person that I want to photograph.
Yeah, it could be anybody.
Minor White. I would like Minor White. It's do you know this photographer? Minor White. I think he is American, of course, but he's the first who had the cover of, what was it? Was it a Time magazine? He had the first cover. Anyway, he was very interesting guy, very, very interesting guy, because he was also teaching, and he was interested in psychology, and he was interested in, let's say, his students, before they were viewing the photographs, he got them hypnotized. They got like an experiment. They got all hypnotized, and they were watching these pictures and what they feel and so on. So he was a very interesting guy. Also, the book The Mind's Eye from Henri Cartier-Bresson is very important for me. Who would be anybody? Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's very, now when you're asking me this, I feel very uncomfortable. Why? Because you know why? Let me tell you why. Because now I'm thinking, who would I like to hang around with? And now I have this bloody camera in front of me. I don't want to take a picture of him. I want to talk to him. You know what I mean? That's my idea. I don't want to take pictures. I want to talk to you. I have questions.
Well, that is the beauty of this process, is that it takes so long to capture an image. You do have a lot of downtime that you can kind of interact.
That's true. So. That's true. Yeah. Talking about that happened to me twice in my life, that there was like something so beautiful that I didn't want to look through the camera. I wanted to see it with my bare eyes. and once was the birth of my first child. I I had a camera there. That was something life changing, and there was also a sun eclipse. When I saw the first time, actually the only time, full sun eclipse. Oh my God! I just didn't want to photograph. I just wanted to, just want to breathe in through my eyes. I just want to shower me. It was just so incredible.
That's great.
So twice in my life, I didn't want to photograph through. I wanted to see. So let's say Minor White. He is a very interesting guy, and but the people that I know from personally, I would say definitely I would love to photograph Oliviero Toscani. He was my teacher from Fabrica, from Benetton. He's the author of the images that were made the Benetton so famous. And of course also maybe Mark Osterman, definitely. Yeah, and I'm thinking maybe it would be a good idea to take pictures. And also my first teacher who taught me about photography came by yesterday, a few days ago. I took a picture of him, so in a collodion, and then I made carbon print with it. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's dilemma. Who I want to photograph. Do I want to have like a good photo, or do I want to talk to a person? So it's kind of like it's not clear in my mind, because when I'm thinking, I can. I'm not certain. I'm not sure which one would be.
No, that's great. Hey, let's talk about the state of collodion photography in Europe. At least here in the U.S., it just seems like we're going through this explosion of people over the last, really, 3 to 4 years that have jumped into this process. What do things look like in Europe? Is it kind of gaining traction as a photographic art, or is it still kind of limited to kind of a certain set of practitioners?
The wet plate collodion process, became popularized by, I would say, Sally Mann. She put this process on the highest, the brightest stage, because she is a star. She was a star before, and now everybody learned about that, and then became really popular in. So I would say, although in Europe there were definitely people like Misha Keskenovic who doesn't know nobody from the United States, or who he learned by himself, and I know two more, I think, who learned by themselves. But mostly the popularization came from United States, and I would say, just like in United States, what I hear, the saturation came to the level. I mean, the wet art market became saturated with wet plate collodion, because in wet plate collodion, whatever you photograph, it looks sexy. So the question is why?
Yeah.
Why are you using this process? And just because it looks different, it was great in the beginning, but that first love for wet plate collodion process in the art market is gone. So yeah. So no, this is what I want to say.
Yeah, maybe it'll start to turn the other way, and just some of the weekend warriors that take a couple of shots every so often, they might start to lose interest. It just seems like there's so many people that are shooting it now. I know we always say that there's 1,000 people worldwide, but to me it seems like there's a lot more people than that right now that are doing this.
Of course. Yep. Yeah. I would say like this. 99% or 99.9% of contemporary photographers who are using wet plate collodion process are using it for positive, so which means ambrotypes or tintypes. I am interested in wet plate collodion negative. You know why? Because wet plate collodion negative, for a couple of reasons. One, if I make a negative, then I have to make a print, and I can choose a lot. Like, a digital photographer basically has only one choice. inkjet.
Right. Yep.
I mean, theoretically, you can make a digital negative and do many things, but basically 99.99999% is an inkjet, for digital photographers. Is that inkjet on this material, on that material? That doesn't really matter. It's inkjet. And when I say inkjet, I prefer to say it a computer drawing because basically it's a computer.
Yeah.
Because I'm always asking a person, if I would draw so well as a computer and I would draw the same, literally the same image the computer draws, would you call my painting a photograph? You would not. So why you call that? Anyway, leave that. That's another.
That's a good point, though.
Bart. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Because a photo means like drawing with light. It has to be drawing with light. Anyway, so my point, what I'm trying to say is that wet plate negative, when you make a negative, when you have a negative in your hand, it opens, 40 or more processes that you can make a print out of it. So, let's say I'm thinking about one of my next projects will be, I'm thinking about photographing my son as a character in a fictional story. And I want to make wet plate collodion negative. And from that, I want to make oil print, basically. Why? Because I want to have this aesthetic for this new project that will come when it will come. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have a wet plate negative, you can choose. If you have a positive, you either have one plate, and then you have a scan, which means that you're the only option is like computer drawing. Right. But with the negative, you're unpredictable. You're fresh, meaning like you can do your own stuff. You can choose much more than just. So yeah, but of course it's like 10 times more work. It's much more work. Oh, and the second thing, if you I'm a professional photographer, what basically that means I need to sell. I need to sell my work. If I make a positive and I sell this plate, it's gone. I will never see it again. If I do a negative and then I make a print, I can sell one print, I can sell two prints, I can sell whatever prints. But what is very important for me is that the negatives are staying in one archive. So basically, I have this romantic vision that after my death, somebody could go in that basement there and then could see all my images, all my plates together. So they can see the path that I walked. The stuff that I have seen. If there would be a positive somewhere around the world, nobody would keep the track. So for me, that's kind of like my legacy. I want to have my legacy in together. So that's why the wet plate negative is so much better than positive, because I can make a print and I can sell it and I can keep my original negatives at home.
Nice. So you're saying that you've not ordered someone to sneak into your archive and then smash all your negatives when you're gone, just to drive the value of the prints up. Maybe if somebody will try that, maybe I'll wake up from the dead. But I will definitely come like a Freddy Krueger, like a nightmare. Okay, let's talk some Top Shit now. You've got a blog called Top Shit. How did that name come about? For folks that don't know.
So I have Top Shit Photography. First of all, you have ordinary and you have extraordinary. You have shit and you have top shit. It's kind of following this logic. It has to. But basically, it also reflects my view to the life. Let's not take it so seriously. That's one thing, and then second thing is also it was fun, If I'm honest, I'm not using this brand anymore, and I'm changing it. I'm trying to, but I will still keep it as a mental, because you cannot be really serious. I don't know. People will not think it's a challenge.
Right. On
a challenging market like today, it's to have like a joke name. Maybe it's a little bit something that I don't want to carry anymore.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so I will have something else, but I already have a name and everything.
But I do have to say, I mean, you put out some great video content across a lot of the different social media platforms, very well produced pieces. And I mean, what is it that drives you to want to publish that information and make it available? I mean, you mentioned that you've had a lot of people that have helped you out along the way. These are valuable insights into a lot of different processes, not just wet plate, but a lot of your printing stuff. What is it that really kind of says, man, I just want to get this next video out?
Yeah. It's a lot of work with these videos, my goodness. And I kind of grew up also my standards also grew, so I'm not satisfied with just GoPro and just do it something fast or just turn on the camera and just do a talking head, just talking. Even if it's tutorial, I still want to make fun. I still want to have to look good and so on. And that takes a lot of time. Okay, so first of all, when I started to do a wet plate, I live in a small country out in a small town. So my municipality of Straža has only 4,000 people, and that's even that's too much. I bought a cabin in the forest. Anyway, the point what I'm trying to say, as an artist, you can get pretty lonesome here. But I studied abroad. And for me, I always had a feeling that I want to be in touch with international audience and so on. And when I started wet plate, I said to myself, okay, I just have three options. As a professional photographer, if I want to make this a profession, I have three choices. One, quit. Second, move out from this country, basically, because it's too small market. Or thirdly, do something, become so good that people will come from the world, around the world, will come to see you, to your small town, Yeah. And obviously, since I'm getting your attention, you know which answer, which path I took.
I think you've been successful with that. That was a good choice.
Yeah. Last workshop, somebody came from South Africa, got a visa and everything, and flew to Ljubljana, to Slovenia, to Straža, and he was the first time that saw a proper snowing.
Yeah, I think I saw that short clip on Instagram of that guy.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, and he went for a walk in the next day after. They said, "Listen, you cannot have if you want to go for a walk in the snow, these are not sneakers. I'm not letting you with these sneakers." So I got him everything: ski pants, good boots, and everything. So and double and good socks. I said, "Now you take that." So
nice.
Yeah.
So, Borat, as we kind of wrap things up here, I mean, social media has been important to you to get that messaging out and to share this information, kind of draw people to your work. How do people that actually want to see what you've done, take a look at these videos, maybe talk to you about a workshop, how do they get in contact with you?
YouTube and YouTube 99%, I would say. Also Facebook, but on Facebook I'm not as So basically, YouTube is my main channel. That said, my ambitions have grown. I want to do more because I know that I have a content. I know how to do storytelling. I have all the elements except one. I have to be more frequent. I have to do. If I really want to do it, I have to do it. I don't know, at least twice a month, or even better, three times a month.
Right.
Or best would be every week. But I don't know. I have a lot of things going on. I have now exhibition coming in Prague, and then also in Portugal, in my small town, I forgot. And then in 1st and 2nd of April, we have a European collodion weekend in Tuscany, in Italy. So I will be pretty busy. I will keep myself pretty busy. Yeah.
You mentioned the European collodion weekend, the ECW, I think, is the shortcut
That's
for
right.
that. Yep. What's it like being around all of the different folks that attend that? There's a lot of different experience levels, and A lot of people from all over the globe that have attended that. I don't know why here in the U.S. we can't get something similar to that set up, but what's it like just being around some of those folks that are maybe even mentors to you, or you've helped them out to get started in the process?
It was great. It's great. It was first time that I got to meet strangers, and I was not called Borat. People know my name. They call me Borut. They were not calling me Borat. So that was great.
Borut, you should have showed up in that bathing suit that Borat wears.
I've done that. But not at the European Collodion weekend. What I want to say, it's good. It's good to see people, and because on the other day, socializing is very important. Like you know how it is. We are social animals, so it's really good to see people and see the name, the face behind the name, and
sure.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and even though there are a large number of people that do this process, it's still somewhat of a small community of folks, and I can see how that would be fun to get together with folks every so often and kind of see what they're up to.
Yeah, and actually you learn a lot with this. Let's say if there are 30 people together, one has this approach. It's a little things, little things. But little things, they make a big difference, So you learn a lot by seeing also, like, I don't know, how somebody's using this trick to stabilize his camera more, or using this recipe for a negative or that, and so on. Cleaning the plates and so on. It's good to see. It's really good. It's really good to see this kind of a level of hanging out. That said, I also have in my woodland, I'm preparing the wetplate expedition. Last year was happening again, but actually last year was the third time already. It was 2016, 2017, then 2018 and 19. Anyway, so it was 2017, 2018, and 19 and 20. My son was born, and COVID came, and so on. So at that time was not. But 2022, I started to do this project, and Shane Balkovich flew from United States, and Odette flew from Tel Aviv, and so it was really good to see people coming here for the whole week. It's not a weekend; it's whole week in a forest, and I had comments saying this was life-changing experience. Because this is something that I have experienced also personally, when you're in the forest, but you're not in the forest going through the park or something like that. You're in the forest for days, your mind slows down, your mind chatter quiets down, and it's really good. And especially if you have to be focused and by doing wetplate collodion photography, So it's good. Yeah, it's good.
That's great. Well, Borut, thanks for being on the show today, and I'm glad we were finally able to connect up, and I appreciate you being our first international guest on 10 Questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your attention, and keep up the good work.
All right, awesome. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode and maybe even picked up some insights that will help you along in your own wetplate journey. I'd love to hear from you on who you'd like to have on in a future episode. So send me a message and follow our Instagram account at 10 Questions with any feedback. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast provider. Thanks for listening to me, Chad Shryock, and my expert guests, and I look forward to you joining me again in the coming weeks for a new episode of 10 Questions.